And we have returned. You're listening to CSC Talk Radio. This is Beth Ann. We're visiting today with Tom DeWeese. We're talking about the Electoral College. This is very important. We are going to go to the phones. We have Roger in New Mexico with a comment on that. Roger, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I was going to say something about the NFL, but first let's talk about anybody that attacks the Electoral College system is attacking the U.S. Constitution. Because I don't know if these people ever read the Constitution, because in there it defines not only the Senate and representatives, but how they're to be elected.
Well, I'm fairly confident that those that are rioting in the streets and the paid protesters have not read it and do not understand it.
But I want to reinforce what you said about the NFL globalists. The day that O.J. Simpson went down the freeway and every MSM, mainstream media news, was focused on him, there's no reason the police couldn't have stopped him with nail strips. That day, guess what day that was? That was the grand opening of international football in the United States of America. You didn't hear a word about it, did you?
No, I didn't. We were too busy. We were too busy following the slow-moving white SUV. All right, Roger. We know the globalism is a problem here. We do know that.
I knew it was a problem. Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Roger. Let's get back to the Electoral College and sustainability and sovereignty. And we know that they want to completely. And what I said about our 2016 election is it's not about left or right. It's not about Republican and Democrat. It's about a complete changing of our governing. We've seen them compromise it. We've seen them amend this and amend that, just like the 17th Amendment. And that's what this one is about, too. If the Democrats get back in control, it will be socialism. It will be globalism. We won't have a chance as far as being a sovereign nation anymore. That's why they want the borders open. I mean, just start putting it together, start connecting the dots. It isn't that you don't have to be a genius, because even I can understand it. So, Tom, what can we do? Tell them how serious it is. We haven't even done that yet. Let's tell them how serious it is right now.
Well, the real threat at the moment is there is a movement called the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact. And what this is about is a state passes this, and they are pledging that their electoral votes will go to whatever candidate wins the popular vote. And, of course, this doesn't kick in. You need 270 electoral votes to be elected. This compact doesn't kick in until they have enough states that represent those 270 electoral votes. Well, they've already got Maryland, New Jersey, Illinois, Rhode Island, Vermont, Washington, Massachusetts, California, New York, Hawaii, the District of Columbia, and Connecticut. These represent 172 electoral votes. That means they only need states representing 98 more. And already in consideration, Missouri, Oklahoma, Arizona, there are some other states looking at this, all using the excuse that the popular vote, the people elect the president. And, what they say is the Electoral College is racist. And, usually
that's a good one. I mean, they
is,
say that about everything.
Exactly, yeah. But this is the real threat. We are 98 votes away from losing the Electoral College, and that means that the popular vote in major metropolitan areas in New York, in California, and so forth, these are the very fears that the Founding Fathers had, that the major states would control the country. Beth Ann, I don't know, have you ever heard it said, have you ever been talking to somebody from San Francisco or New York or whatever, and I've actually had them say this to me, why do they even give those people in the Midwest a vote? Yeah. We're the elite. We know what we're doing here, and they call it flyover country. That's how they view the rest of the country. If you look at that map by county of Donald Trump's election, and it's all in red, the whole country is massively red, and then there are tiny little areas of Los Angeles and San Francisco and New York, and this is where the popular vote came from. Agenda 21, Sustainable Development, the smart growth programs of that are designed to move people into the cities off of those rural areas. That means that this begins to grow stronger and stronger, that these certain little areas of the country where the population is formed will decide who the president is. And so the farmers and the ranchers and the people who live in those more rural areas will have absolutely no say about how this country is
Not
run.
only that, they're wanting to re-region everything, regionalize everything, and they'll put some of the rural America in with the big cities. And therefore, that vote will be different in the precincts and in the counties and that kind of thing.
Exactly.
So they're wanting to do that as well. I mean, they've got all kinds of tricks up their sleeves, and people are falling for them. I think they've got that. I think it's called Beautiful America, Beautiful Missouri or something like that. It has absolutely nothing with making Missouri beautiful. And we're going to have somebody on the air talk about that if we can get a hold of them. We're having trouble getting people to return phone calls. But, that is another thing that they're trying to do, and people fall for it. They give it some crazy name like Beautiful Missouri, and it has nothing to do with beautification of Missouri. It has everything to do with taking the votes. It's called Clean Missouri, not Beautiful Missouri. It's called Clean Missouri. It has nothing to do with cleaning up Missouri.
Right. Well, they're clever guys.
Oh, yeah.
With all these,
and determined.
These names they come up with. But, and if we focus on something and we can debunk it, they don't change the policy, they change the name. Oh, this isn't that. This is local. This is something else. Yeah. One of the things that people have to understand is the way that our Constitution was put together. It was designed specifically saying this is a government that isn't granting your rights. You're born with your rights, and this government will protect those rights. That was the point. And what that means is that minorities are protected, the minority of one, that just because a mob in a so-called democracy has voted that you're not going to be able to have that property, the Constitution says, yes, you can. It's yours. And, so when you get the minority of one in a democracy, which is nothing but, and I've always called it a lynch mob.
Well, it's what it is.
And, of course, my favorite one, I've even got a poster on my wall that says democracy is 3 wolves and a sheep voting on what to have for lunch. These mobs in the street that you're seeing, this kind of mob rule, this is the democracy in action versus protection of the individual. And that's why they want the Constitution out of the way. It is in their way. And, for example, in New York, Mayor de Blasio said in a magazine interview last year, he said, the problem we're having, the biggest problem we have is that the government is set up to protect private property. I believe, he said, that people all walks of life in the city would prefer the government to decide where the buildings would go, how high they would be, what the rents would be, and who could live there. That's what he said. Yeah. That is this whole thing in action, and what they're facing, what we're facing with.
And people don't understand that. I had a listener call in when I was talking about the Electoral College right after the 2016 vote, and they were all in outraged about it. Well, he said if that helps the minorities, then who's gonna be the voice for the majority? And they just don't get it. That is their voice. We have to accept the way it is, but this popular vote will make the cities dictate over rural America. And we know that New Yorkers don't know how to grow corn or cattle or anything else, and they don't know anything about the land. And the topography of the land and the natural resources of one state is different from another state. That's what makes us so unique here in the United States of America. But that's not what they want. And when the Governor Cuomo said, we're not going to make America great, it wasn't that great anyway, everybody concentrated on the wrong part of that phrase. The important part of that phrase is, we're not going to make America great, because they don't want America. They want this North American Union. They don't want the United States of America. That's why they want open borders and sanctuary cities, and we're going into a break. 877-895-5410 is the number to call, and Tom and Beth Ann will be right back.